am so excited to be talking to one of my absolute favorite people in the entire HR universe. That is the notorious Niki, not notorious BIG, the notorious Niki, Niki Ramirez. Niki,
Oh, thank you.
how is your
What a
how
nice
is
start.
your day going today? How's your day going?
Today is great. Yeah. Starting, it's early where I am, this day that we're recording, and so it's a fresh day, and I'm glad for that. I'm glad for
Have you
that.
had a cup of Java Joy this morning
I
to kick
have.
off your day?
Oh, indeed I did. Indeed I did. We brewed that Santo Domingo.
Yes. So for everybody out there that doesn't know, Niki spends a lot of time in the Dominican Republic, which her husband is from, and they have a place there. And Niki has gotten me tipped on, I am a lover of coffee, of Santo Domingo coffee, which you can get from Amazon. So I don't have to wait for Niki to go get it and bring it from the motherland. I order it on Amazon and I have a reoccurring delivery. So my day was also powered by Santo Domingo. Thank you, Niki.
Oh, that's really good. How are you?
I am doing fabulous. It's always a great day when I get to talk to amazing people like you.
Yes. Aw. Thanks for the invitation. You are also one of my favorite people in the HR community, and we have been connected at the heartstrings for lots of years now. So I'm grateful for you.
We have been, and I am just lucky to have you in my circle of peeps. So, Niki, we pose two questions to individuals that are having these conversations with us. And the first question allows you to share your story because I'm fortunate to know how you came to be and you're being a steward of people. But can you tell us your HR story? So, what got Niki Ramirez here today to be such a impactful HR leader? Partner with organizations to help us be better stewards of the people within our workplace?
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. There are two camps of HR people in the world, the people that chose it and the people that tripped and fell into it. And I am the tripped and fell into it crowd. So let's see. Starting like back in the beginning, I was an operations leader and I was working in community programming, community service, and running, after school programs, before school, summer camps, daycare for school district and city programs. And while you're running those programs, you start to get a line of sight into these other areas of specialty. And I knew human resources was a thing and it existed, but I didn't know what they did or what it was about. And then I started to get assigned certain duties that I didn't know at the time were functions of human resources. So writing an employee handbook for a program that I worked for, working on our HR related SOPs and things like that. So as an operations leader, I just started picking up tasks and responsibilities that were HR related. And, through the course of time, just kind of like evolved into it. I wasn't forced into it by any means. In fact, our team at HR Answers, we have a question of the week every week, just it's like an ongoing team builder for us. And our question, I think 2 weeks ago, was tell us about something that like where you failed in your life and like how you used that lesson. I once expressed interest in joining the HR team in the organization I worked for and was told, no, we don't really think that that'll work for you. We're not sure that HR is the right career for you. That's what the HR director told me. And this is about 24 years ago or so. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks so much for that feedback. And I immediately started to plan my departure from that organization because I had seen how human resources as a function within an organization, how they work at this foundational and strategic level to create sustainable employment, to create a space for people to work and be happy and kind of develop their careers and work on their work-life harmony and all that stuff. So I learned there was this function. So I just said, okay, well, let me spread my wings and figure out what's next. So yeah, so it was just sort of like a slow evolution. I am not a fast jumper. When I learn that I love something or I enjoy something or I want to learn about something, I spend a lot of time figuring it out. And so it was an evolution, and went off into the world and studied for my master's in business and picked up the HR specialty along the way with that. So master's in business, HR management. And that's when I solidified that I loved all the things HR was doing. That was over 20 years ago as well. And I said, okay, let's do it. And I made the hard shift into HR. And I said, all right, I'm done with operations and I'm going to work under some sort of HR job title. And so that's sort of like the slip and slide journey. And now I lead the team at HRanswers.org, where really we just focus on providing HR support to small businesses and our training, partners and folks through training and development. And our mission is super simple, and it's just to create a positive ripple in the world through HR consulting. Here we are.
And so two things that, of course, jump out at me from what you just shared is one of the challenges that our industry has is we tend to make it exclusive to enter the industry. And so when you have somebody in HR that has power that didn't have experience at some point before they took our HR position, telling somebody, no, we don't want you, that's a barrier that it doesn't matter if it was 24 years ago or 2 days ago that we still struggle with. And I don't get it. It absolutely, it's like kryptonite for me when we in our profession feel that we are exclusive.
Yeah. And think about all the different areas of specialty that a person can focus on in our careers in human resources. How could any person who's interested in HR not find a home in HR if they're working for a great organization with great HR leadership? And if, HR people, we tout this idea of inclusiveness, and we want to be able to build bridges and create diverse organizations. But then when it's our turn to show that that's what we actually do, you're right. We often hit that pause button or tell people, I'm not so sure that you have what it takes, or you need more experience or whatever. But man, I can't think of another industry. Well, maybe being a cook, a chef, even like as you build your career, it's kind of like that. Like you got to get in the kitchen and start, burning some steaks and stuff. Don't burn steaks, it's expensive.
And it's transferable skills.
100%.
So I think about my most favorite role over the course of my HR career is, and again, I loved operations, which is why I went the MBA route, because I wanted to know how the business works. If I'm helping the people within it, I got to figure this out, like where the money comes in, how we spend it, how we make it, how we build and all the tech. And HR business partner is one of those roles that blends. If you know the business and the people within it, we can teach you HR.
Yes.
But that connection of the work people do to the work itself, you need that operations experience to be able to do it. And so it's having that general understanding, and the evolution is still happening.
It is, but again, think about all the different areas though, for a person who wants to either get into HR or find their maybe, short to long-term place in HR. I was always a generalist. So my first HR job title was an HR generalist. And then I worked for Paychex for a period of time as a consultant. And that's where I learned that I love the pace of consulting and like the ping pong aspect of it, like so many different types of clients and locations. And how many handbooks am I supposed to look at today to answer questions? I don't know, 6 different handbooks. But then also I worked as a manager and director. So that's more generalist work. But gosh, if you're a person who really enjoys the work of a specialist, you might be an analyst in compensation. You might be an HRIS specialist and tech person. You could be a benefits, creator, a systems, strategist, or an implementer. So it's just really diverse, the work that we do. And there is a place for everybody who's interested. You just have to find an organization or a leader that's willing to coach you into the right place to start. And so I was really grateful for that. And that generalist role was just right for me, because I am a person that likes to know all the things, or like to try to know all the things. And then of course, the older we get, the more we realize we don't actually know hardly anything. So, but I really love that concept of generalist manager director, of like the, sort of that wide reaching vision, working on that.
Yeah, the HR generalists are the family practitioners.
Yeah, they
or
are.
your general practitioners of the HR world, because
Yeah.
we know a little bit about everything,
Yep.
but we know who to go to when we need more expertise.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Well, and that drove me into employee relations. So I do have an area of expertise. So, I would consider employee relations my area of expertise. So dealing with not only the risk management side of it, how do we deal with analyzing and strategizing around compliance with rules and regulations, but the positive employee relations, like how are we cultivating a people first workplace? And when we do that, how can we show and demonstrate the benefits to the organization? That's where I love to spend my time now, where I focus almost all of my HR consulting time.
And that's an art. It is a
I just love
true
it.
art firm. But we need it, and
We
it's
do.
meaningful work. It's
Yeah.
meaningful work.
Yep. Yep.
So Niki, if there was one moment that shaped your HR career outside of the fact of you don't belong in HR, so we're gonna throw that one out. But if
Yeah.
there is one moment that shaped your HR career or had the most impact or influence on you over the course of we're gonna say you just started in HR 2 days ago because we're 29.
Yep.
What was it?
Well, my birthday is around the corner, so I'll be 30 soon, but it's fine. I'm ready for it. Let's see. Well, when I think about like what solidified it for me, what made HR like the path, I really think about well, there's two things, Tina-Marie. So inside my HR career, so inside my work life, there's something, and then outside of my work life, there's something else. So within my work life, when I was working for the Gila River Indian community and working in an HR management position, and this is many, over a decade and a half ago now, I was working to support an employee who was struggling through a cancer diagnosis. And, during that time, it was a kind of a tumultuous time in the organization that I was leading, and there was a lot of change happening. So I was kind of questioning my place in in the HR world. Did I make a mistake here? Was I doing the right thing? And this person, they came to me at the conclusion of a long, period of treatment and healing, and left flowers on my desk and a card to say, thank you so much for supporting me through this. I didn't know how I was going to manage, maintaining my job and going through my treatments. And, it was really just in that moment that I was like, oh my gosh, this is not just about paperwork. This is not about just making sure we follow the policy. This is real people's human lives. And I knew it already, but I didn't feel it like that. And so, that moment was really when I sunk my feet in and said, this is it for me. This is how I'll, spend the rest of my work life, supporting people, especially supporting people in the effort to harmonize work and life. How do we deal with the things that come up? I'm pretty transparent. So lots of people in our HR community know I have lots of personal struggles that come up, from helping caregive for my parents to my children that are young adults that are really giving me a run for my money sometimes, to having my own like personal injuries. I've at HRUnite recently at the annual conference, I gave my medical update. I still have broken ribs from a horseback fall. I'll give you my HIPAA release later, but it's just, so kind of my lived experience, and then having feedback from employees to say, like, just thank you for the compassion. Thank you for helping me understand the process technically, but being there for me. So, I just knew there was no going back for me after that we were really impacting people's lives and how they felt about the whole wide world, not just how they felt about work, how they felt about life. So that was big for me.
And that's the aspect of we are people dealing
Yeah.
with people.
Yeah.
And we are still people too. And I think oftentimes when we focus more on the technical aspects of the work we do and forget that there's a person behind it. And
Yeah.
if we just treat them as a human with compassion, with empathy, we see them at the best of times, we see them at the worst of times.
Yeah.
But that authentic aspect of just
Yeah.
getting down to the core aspects of being human, we need more of that in HR. And so I celebrate you and that story and the work you're doing to help people be better stewards of people through
Yeah.
connecting and meeting them where they're at.
Exactly. Yeah. And my outside of work moment, though, I got to share, when I think about the things that influenced, like, how did I even arrive to a job thinking like that? Thinking about like, oh gosh, this is more than paperwork. This is more than a policy, but like this person, I want to care for them. And, well, first of all, on my Enneagram, I'm a helper. On the disc, I'm an I, so I have these personality traits that make me just want to help. And it feels right for me to help people. But my mom is paraplegic. She was in a car accident when she was 15 and never walked again after that day in February. And throughout my life, I didn't realize how molded I was by just being her daughter and watching her struggle through figuring out how to be an employee. She's such a high performer all her life. In fact, she still works with me in my business. She was my first employee in 2017. And, she's a high performer. She's a expert in highly technical administrative work. She's an executive assistant. And she couldn't figure out how to get access to the workforce for so many years. She did work for the government, for the governor for 4 years in the 80s as an executive assistant. That was amazing. That was in Minnesota. They were sort of on the cutting edge of accessibility. And so they found ways to bring her into the workforce and make it work for her in her wheelchair with, her known limitations, mobility wise. And then through, on and on, I'm watching her navigate the world of work and finding so many obstacles. Like I can't get to work. There's no button on doors. The ADA hasn't been passed. There's no ramp. There's no curb cuts. There's not elevators. So she has so many limitations. And so again, just as her daughter and now a person who does have power in the workplace and a place, and sort of just somehow landed in this place to influence and impact, it's been a real focus of mine to make sure that people don't suffer through that. And you don't have to be suffering a mobility disability to need that and deserve that sort of support and equity in the workplace. And so just growing up with her like that, I think that's even more instructive than my workplace example, that I just saw how hard it was, and it shouldn't be that hard for people. We should all be, especially as HR professionals, we should all be committed to finding ways to help people enter into and be successful at work.
Wow. Well, your mom sounds like an incredible woman who has raised such an incredible woman.
Thanks, friend.
So celebrating your mom,
Oh, thanks,
celebrating
Sarah.
you, in all the work you're doing with our HR community.
Thank you.
Is there somebody you want to give a shout out today to make their HR day in this conversation we're having?
Oh my gosh. Well, immediately, our friend through HRUnite, Mary Williams, comes to mind. She's just such a pleasure to be around and just a dynamic personality and someone that I think, selfishly, I really just love her energy, and to be with her in our HR community means that we are caring for people. So shout out to Mary.
And Mary is indeed an amazing HR professional, and she is such a giver and volunteering and being of service to our HR community in
Yes.
so many ways. So I'm going to second that shout out. Mary, we're sending you some HR love to you with this conversation. And friends watching this, if you don't know Mary Williams, connect with her on LinkedIn and other social media platforms, as well as Niki Ramirez, who's kind of a big deal. She is also a leadership and horse whisperer. And for those that were fortunate to see her speak at Once Upon a Time at Nahara, where Bonnie showed up, the horse.
Showed up.
Like, how cool is that? That was my first experience with Niki a couple of years ago, wink, wink. But Niki, thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation. And this is how we, HR helping HR. But the more we connect and share our stories, the better we are as HR professionals. And we are so fortunate to have heard yours and be able to celebrate your story today. So thank you.
Thank you for the invite. And it's always a pleasure to chat with you about any topic. So you always let me know, what do you want to talk about? Coffee, HR, Frankenmuth, whatever it is.
Yeah, the buttered noodles all day, every day.
Okay. I know.
Those that want to connect with both Mary Williams and Niki Ramirez, we will have information at the end of this video with their information, but we look forward to having further conversations and spotlighting the stories of so many others in our HRUnite community going forward. So we will see you soon.